you didn't have, you don't have the LEO background. He doesn't have the LEO background, but yet you're speaking into this community. How do you guys adjust for that? I know I've spent a lot of time talking to Mac about this, and I know you feel the same, which you guys are very passionate, as you just said, about your law enforcement
100%.
community, because Mac sees them. Those are his protectors, he often says. So speaking into that community, what are you adjusting? I mean, obviously you're seeing the attitude in the lack of training, but how are you adjusting to say, man, how do I take my kind of experience and give it to these guys without blowing their gaskets? You know?
I think what resonates most is that seeing our drive, work ethic, the motivation, the dedication to training. And that resonates, because we are vicarious animals, and they see that and they go, damn, man, that dude's still fucking rocking. I want to be like that. I want to have that kind of drive and work ethic too. Because I mean, he's done with doing all this stuff and he's still doing it. And, one of the things I tell them is I always thank them when they come to training because, dude, you're protecting me now, bro. When shit goes bump in the night at my kid's house, I want you there. Just not at my house because I want to get some first.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
And to Mac's point, all that same stuff, but I'll ask him questions. Hey man, let me see your tourniquet. If I could tell you the number of tourniquets still in the package. And I'm like, hey man, that's a piece of life-saving equipment. Do you even know how to use it? So it's just, you throw questions at them, like you're saying, kind of do that self-learning there where they're sitting there going, didn't think about that.
Right.
And then you'll see them scurry off and pull it out of the rifle.
Well, that brings up an interesting thought about the mindset thing, because you guys come from, this tier 1 class where you're being vetted every day. You're being proven every day. You know that the hammer could fall at any time. And so you have to constantly prove your value, worth. And so obviously that plus the community that you live amongst, your brothers that are there, is sufficient to keep you constantly working on everything from tourniquet to dry firing and the rest of it. That's a challenge with the law enforcement community because it's kind of a tenured position in a way. There's not that threat over them because, so much of it is uneventful traffic stops and that sort of thing. So, how do you get that kind of, outside of living the example, so to speak? Now, we've got a lot of law enforcement and first responders that listen to the show. Man, how do you get that across?
One of the things I would tell them when I run an LEO specific course is how I have that spiel. I appreciate the world in which you live. It's a world riddled with ambiguity where you have to be the master of adaptability. I understand that you're damned if you don't, damned if you do. You're in constant fear of litigation liability, and there's a fucking lawsuit attached to every round you fire. The other thing I say is, which differentiates their life compared to the life I lived or we lived, is that when they cross the threshold of their home going outside, they're in combat.
Yeah.
They just don't know when the pro timer is going to go off, They have no idea. But as soon as they cross that threshold, they're in combat.
Right.
That's how you should think.
Right.
You're no longer in the white. Boom, you're in the yellow, teetering on orange.
Right.
Because they have no idea how the simplest situation, like how traffic stops go horribly south, those kind of things. They have to be switched on and be in the yellow or in the orange constantly.
Yeah. So the speed of their draw, for example, how fast they are. Those type of things obviously have to be worked on a lot. Imagine even the CQB kind of experience that because they go into places, right? You smiled about that.
Yeah, they do. And nothing against these guys, but man, it's just, you look at kind of some of the techniques they're using. It's old school. You're using, I don't know if you're familiar or ever seen the guys use the hallway boss Mac, but you still got, some elements out there. So you got a guy in the middle of the hallway trying to control people left and right and all this other stuff. And you're trying to teach these guys. And then, for me, the thing is I want to bring the canine on board as well. So, because again, that was kind of my deal. Starting to incorporate the canine, but then you got departments that want to keep them on a long line. And I'm like, you're self-defeating the purpose of your dog.
Right.
But chief says we got to do it, so
liability.
And at the end of the day, that's everything. Everything is tied to liability. And here would be my thing. Imagine this. And I challenge the chiefs across the country. Step in front of your people and say, here's the rope. If you do something, I will walk side by side with you. If you're wrong, I'm still going to walk side by side with you. I'm not going to cut you away like, old baggage. But stick with your people. Trust their decision. Trust what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And if you don't think the right things are happening, get them the training they need.
Yeah.
It's kind of leadership 101. Right. If that chief says, hey, I got your back, just let them do their business. They're good people out there. They're in a very difficult situation.
Mm-hmm. In every department, county, city, the culture is different. Yeah. In every one of them. Some have great cultures where, guys have training funds and they have training time and mm-hmm. it's encouraged upon. And then you have places like, remember we talked about, where was that? Minnesota.
Oh yeah. Where
the mayor banned warrior training, banned his cops from doing training on their own. Are you freaking kidding me?
Using scary guns.
I had some contact me, and we chatted about training, but damn, man, it's unfreaking believable.
Now this is different, obviously, with the SWAT teams. Those guys have got to be a little bit more prepared, but
once it depends on the department.
There's good ones. Don't get me wrong. There's great ones out there.
Yeah, we worked a lot with local and federal law enforcement while we were active in the unit because we'd have this kind of a co-use on certain training facilities and that, but where they own the facility or building or city block, so they would give us carte blanche to work in that area so long as we gave them training as well. So I saw some really good SWAT guys that we were able to tune up a little bit just here and there. But then again, damn, like Rick was saying.
Yeah, there's not many like Jared Reston.
Yeah, man.
You know Jared? We had him on the show. He was in that just brutal, like face-to-face gun.
Yeah, got shot 7 times.
Yeah.
45.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah.
But he's just so committed to the training aspect and that sort of thing. It would seem to me that a chief would be driven to do that because it's not just that it seems to solve so many problems. If you're really concerned about the liability, then training.
Exactly.
To help them make better decisions, especially the split second stuff, especially, like I'm sure with you guys, the CQB, you're doing these things so many times and making sure you don't hit hostage and the wrong person, carefully being watched because you have to do this at night. You have to do this in different scenarios. And so you have to be able to, clear rooms and all this sort of stuff. It's not always going to be a SWAT team that goes in. You're going to have beat type police officers that have to go into a home. And like Max said, are you anticipating that there's going to be that redneck in there with the severed head covered in blood?
Yeah,
is that what you're anticipating? Because that's what you better be prepared for. And so that means all senses on alert, how you size up the space and all these sorts of things that you guys know. It would seem to me that a chief would want to double up on that and fight the laziness, fight the apathy. Because if you're not training and doing anything, then the natural net effect is that guys are going to get apathetic.
Yeah. I don't know. It all makes sense sitting here. And I don't know why it doesn't resonate from the other side.
Right.
And why these guys aren't, trying to reach out and go, hey, because like you're saying, if my guys are trained, if I put them in scenarios, then that way when that potential liability issue comes up, they're going to handle it right.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, if you look at it, it's just lack of training or lack of situational awareness and nothing on these guys. But when you start day one at BLET or the academy or whatever they want to call their program, liability.
And they're also,
it gets in there.
Right.
And I mean, you've got great people out there, but they've got that, that little bit of doubt in the back of their head that split second when they need to make that decision. Do I draw my gun? Am I going to lose my house? Do I fire this shot? All these questions. There's no question.
Right.
It's a simple vote, wrong, boom, done.